Welcome to the African Intel Affairs podcast series.
My name is Ukoji Vitus. I'm the project manager, Nigeria Watch Project, located in the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. We came into existence in 2006 when we wanted to carry out some researches on fatalities in Nigeria, violence in Nigeria, but couldn't see any. So there was no specific database that handled or archived LEDO incidents in Nigeria. So it actually motivated us to come up with Nigeria Watch, where since that 2006, we've been archiving LEDO incidents, every LEDO incident except suicide in Nigeria. We excluded suicide because we felt it was self-inflicted. Yeah, it may be argued that some people may want to, there are so many questions, why didn't you include it? But now in our methodology, we specifically stated that we excluded it based on the conviction that suicide is self-inflicted, not inflicted by a second party. So, and secondly, we included car accidents in Nigeria because car accidents is a major cause of deaths in Nigeria, apart from crime, apart from insurgency. Apart from religious, certainly ethno-religious incidents, car accident kills a lot of people in Nigeria. So that was our motivation for including car accident. And since that 2016, we've been online. It's an open source. So the article we wrote on sources using Nigerian Watch as our case study was based on our daily experience, our day-to-day interaction with data, our day-to-day interaction with our sources, our day-to-day interaction with our environment. Since we're in an academic environment, it was easier for us to get inputs from people who have used the database. It was easier for us to get exchanges. We supply data, we run analysis, we monitor the trend. And interestingly, we've survived till date. And it's a whole lot of data on LEDO violence in Nigeria.
Okay,
so like I said before.
Okay,
yeah,
so
we okay, please go on.
Sorry, yeah. So typically, I think that many people might not realize who your sort of recipients or beneficiaries of the data which you actually produce. So I think it would be important if you express which people are finding your data useful and which networks make use of that database. Just like a general overview. You don't have to name drop any people specifically.
Oh, interesting. Like I said before, we're located in the university environment. So our first target audience are students, researchers.
Okay.
Now conflict managers, peace builders. Now, when you look at the trend of violence you'll be able to come up with scenarios. You can build your scenarios, you can build the early warning systems on the trend of violence where it can occur, because it spreads. It spreads like we have in Bono. Now, Boko Haram will come and attack a community, and you can actually project the line of the next community they can attack. So now it helps conflicts mitigators, it helps conflict managers to come up with policies now on mitigating those conflicts. It helps researchers now to come up and monitor the trends of violence in Nigeria. It's not just a monitoring. We've produced so many academic materials on violence in Nigeria. The latest one was on the myths of violence in Nigeria. Myths. There are certain myths about Nigeria. Okay, now some people will tell you car accident kills more than every other. Okay, car accident occurs most during Christmas period. Is it true? Now, our research will debunk or affirm that assumption. Now, if you look at the trend, since they occur on daily basis, you look at the trend, so you can either support that hypothesis or you can avoid. So now we target researchers. Then peace builders per se, we're interested in what they do. How are they building conflict? You cannot build conflict, cannot build peace without having data. You cannot build conflict without looking at the dynamics of conflict. You cannot. So we encourage them, take a look at what we do. Now, know how you build your scenarios, know how you build the early warning system, know how you build your responses. Nothing will stop them from looking at what type of weapons are being used. Nothing will stop them from looking at what type of vehicles are involved, mostly involved in car accidents. What are the routes that are most affected? So these are policy options that can come up just taking a look at our database. We not only deal on trends. So we deal on training people on how to use the database and see how to make use of the database to produce research. Personally, I came up with a research in car accidents in Nigeria. It was fantastic. I had to look at the days that have the highest occurrences of car accidents in Nigeria, lethal car accidents in Nigeria. I had to look at the weeks. I had to look at the months. Without the database, it would have been difficult. And this published is online. A lot of comments, a lot of commendations about the paper. And we had like 20 of such papers produced by 20 different researchers, collected in a single book, Violence in Nigeria. Hard copy, soft copy is still online. So we have a whole lot of users. Then NGOs, we have embassies telling you, okay, give me the trend. I want to look at the trend of violence and stuff. Now we have a special, what we call a security map. Where you have the security map, you just click on the map, you know the location in Nigeria where most violences occur. So there are a lot of people we try to incorporate, students, researchers, conflict managers, embassy staff, and then the public who may want to know what happens around it, because knowing what happens around you adds value to your life. It makes you avoid some places and then avoid some issues that may cause harm to you.
So the very interesting thing, and I know that a lot of people who've ever indulged with research to do with many African countries, whether it's got an elevated conflict profile or not, etc., whether it's governments, private sectors, or international actors, one of the issues has always been, and you've expressed this in your paper, the reliability of sources, and especially since you are mainly based on newspaper outlets. What are the drawbacks of mainly depending on news and media organizations as one of your primary sources? And also, as an extension to that question, in this age of disinformation, how are we, can you as a secondary user to a media organization, say if a media organization falls prey to some disinformation which comes as a report, is there any way that you have of controlling it, and what are the weaknesses that you are confronting right now?
All right, I'll step in here. Like every other research, there are limitations to every research. There are limitations, and then researching with the media has its own limitations too. One of which is graphic depictions of victims. Now, in the so I was saying graphic depictions of victims of violence is a major problem. Now, some people want to engage in some researches, and the more they see the depictions of dead bodies and blood littered everywhere, it discourages them. What happens, they put down. Now, but psychologically, we are battling to come in terms with those depictions. It took some years, not less than 4 years to get used to it, not entirely. So when you keep seeing blood on the papers, you keep seeing blood on the media every time, it poses a great danger. It introduces bias. Now, bias in the sense that who is killed, from which region, what's the religion, what's the gender. At the end of the day, when you collect all these things, now you see that temporarily there will be bias in what, even in what, how you treat the incident. Incident we call an event that involves a fatality. So if you're not professional enough to overcome that problem, now it poses a great threat in the way you describe the event, in the way you analyze the incident, and then in the way you depict the victims involved in the incident itself. So that depiction is not meant for everybody, but it takes a lot to overcome it. Now we're talking about the second issue is government interference. Sorry to say this. Recently in Nigeria, we read some news that government want to censor the reportage of insurgency in the Northeast, where Boko Haram and ISWAP have been terrorizing residents. Now, some of us see it as government interference. The media should be independent. Now, investigative journalists who are on the field, what do you expect them to do? They go, they pick the facts, they come, they publish it for public consumption. But in the sense where you're censoring it, you're censoring Twitter, you're censoring other media outlets, you're threatening them that who report that you sanction the media company. It hurts reporter, it hurts media, it hurts our work. It doesn't bring about objectivity. So whatever you may tend to produce may be subjective and then be questionable. So media bias is another problem. So now we look at the media ownership. All right, so I was saying about media ownership, media locality, media origin has a log effects on researches on violence, especially in Nigeria. Now, where the media originates has influence. Like in the southwest, where you have Nigerian Tribune. Nigerian Tribune records most incidents in the region. Now, it may not really be extended. Many incidents in the southeast or south or north may not really be captured, despite how it tries to prove that it's a national daily. It's a problem because the interest is more or less on the southwest. Now we have Daily Trust that covers a lot of places in the north. We have Nigerian Sun that covers in the southeast, Independent that covers in the south. Now, what I'm trying to say is that no matter how we claim or no matter how the bodies claim that they have natural coverage, they are based on regional grounds. It's a problem because it leads us to underreportage. It leads us to maybe missing so many incidents that would have captured in the media. The sectionality of the media reportage now leads to loss of data that should have really been enriched, be used to enrich so many databases. So it's a problem like for us here, it's a problem in the sense that we have to go extra mile to look for other materials that are somehow reliable to augment what we have.
Okay.
Yeah, hello?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Now, sorry please, a major problem is the issue of in taxonomies, categorizations. How do you categorize conflicts? Now, how do you group them? Now, it's shrouded with a lot of controversy, it's shrouded with a lot of subjectivity. Now, in the course of our work, we found out that there are some overlapping of, let's say, the context of different violence incidents. Like we have Boko Haram. Now, database treats Boko Haram as both as a political issue and as a religious issue. Now, from our own understanding, the insurgency in Nigeria captures both contexts. Now, you can't just treat it as a political because Boko Haram is a group of extremists trying to carve out territories, trying to fight the government for whatever reasons they have. Now, yet it still has religious undertones. It's all about extremism, Muslim extremism. Now they want to expand. Now some people may argue it's all about jihad. Or some of us still have reservations about that. So what I'm saying is that there are overlap of meanings, contexts, and it's been difficult for us to actually dissect which incidents, as in the case of Boko Haram, as in the case of pastoral incidents that have both land issue and cattle grazing overlapping. So what we'll do is now to make sure that now some of our readers are really safe. So we include multiple causes like Boko Haram, have pastoral incidents. Then witchcraft and sorcery is a narrow bit. It's a very thin line. There's a very thin line between both incidents. Now, how do you define sorcery and then witchcraft? Now, witchcraft involves, from our own perspective, killings for the sake of dismembering of bodies, for the sake of economic reasons, or for the sake of fortification, or other reasons. But witchcraft, there are so many incidents we overcome in our database. There's some people were accused of witchcraft, of killing their relatives through sorcery. It still boils down to sorcery. So how do we differentiate between? So the only option was, now we get to contests together, we include them in the database in case now somebody who may be interested in researching about sorcery, going about things, and then distinguishing between the two based on what he or she is about doing with the work, the research work.
Okay. This is a very interesting note, because I think that in the context of African countries, sometimes a lot of people downplay things like witchcraft and sorcery, etc., and they look at it as this extreme other. However, I also do think that the reason why a lot of people have problems trying to understand that is because in different contexts we do refer to religious conflict in different ways, and I also think that this is, in one way or another, an extension of this sort of conversation. So where in some sort of context you might be able to list religious motivations as the reason for the conflict, but then also the mode of sort of executing violence then actually becomes the issue. That what struck this person is something that is less physical and more of a spiritual, invisible force. Then that starts to have different connotations for a lot of people, that you're citing imaginary sources. However, I often find that when you look at the ways in which we categorize religious motivated conflict vis-a-vis the same kinds of descriptions offered for witchcraft and sorcery, you may find some similarities which can be drawn upon, except that when you interact with information that has to do with witchcraft and sorcery, you'll sometimes see that the actor which is cited is not physically tangible or cannot be located. And so in order for you, like you had said, that in terms of mapping trends, it's not one of those things where you can say this area is predominantly Christian and therefore a lot of instances is going to be like this and this. You may catch the information in patches and so, which is a very interesting thing, but it's also something that we need to recognize, because when people make explanations for conflict, I guess that brings a different level of, to the extent to which also the bias is influencing the researcher. If you're coming from a region where it's not unusual to hear of incidences where witchcraft has had a part to play, you will easily grasp it and accept it, and you may have a reason to put it in the database. But if you are not in the belief and you're very secular minded, and or if you're an atheist, your belief system may cite that information as unbelievable. And so it's a very interesting hurdle to have to come across as a researcher, because we are people, we're Africans, we get put into an academic setting and then we get told about information that we can verify, empirical evidence, structures and nomenclature. Whereas in another context, we also know what our stories are, and that the event still took place and we need to find a way to record it.
You're right.
Yeah. So this is definitely very interesting, and also an extension of a conversation which we need to continue to have as far as research is concerned. But my last question for you really has to do with your role in informing early warning. I know that because you are in Nigeria, how would you say that your database feeds into the current ECOWAS's early warning response mechanism?
To be frank, what we defined as a methodology is to monitor and collect legal violence in Nigeria. We were not specific on engaging ourselves in early warning systems, but the beauty, what we do is we try to reach out to the public to embrace our database, with which they can build on the scenarios on early warning system. Like I said before, taking a look at the database, you know the trends of violence, you know the incident, the protagonists involved, you know the instruments used. As a conflict analyst, you really pinpoint what you do with the data you have. So it's important to really know that we don't recommend policies for the government, but we expose them to the database for them to come up with policies themselves. It's like I said before, you can't really build up those systems without having actual data on ground. It's difficult. So we provide the actual data and then reach out to people, reach out to the public, train those. We've trained a lot of people on the usage, train them, the university academia, the peace builders, conflict managers. We've trained a lot of them on how to use the database and then come up with whatever they want that has to do with adding more value to life or prevention of violence in Nigeria and across Africa.
No, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to brief us on the Nigeria Watch project and all that it does in contributing to our knowledge about conflict and violent occurrences of violent incidences in the country.
No, and